The Enforcement Directorate arrests a former National Stock Exchange MD and CEO Chitra Ramkrishna in connection with the alleged illegal phone tapping and the snooping case of employees of the stock exchange. Trouble mounts for former Maharashtra top cop Sanjay Pandey for phone tapping in the NSE scandal. Massive anti-national plot busted in Patna. 3 arrested. Police claim plot to target Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Document recovered shows radical group wants to enforce Islamic State in India by 2047. Starting this edition of This Is Exclusive with that big snooping scam. Republic TV has got you full information about this scam, which is now being probed by the Enforcement Directorate. First, it was the Central Bureau of Investigation filing an FIR, and now the Enforcement Directorate has arrested the former National Stock Exchange MD and CEO Chitra Ramkrishna in connection with the alleged illegal phone tapping and the snooping case of employees of the stock exchange after getting the nod for a probe by the court. Now, she's been sent to 4 days of the Enforcement Directorate's remand. Let's break it down for all of you who are tuning in right now why this scam means more trouble for the former Mumbai Police Commissioner. Details that we are breaking for you right now of the investigation that's been carried out so far. Following the FIR that was registered by the Central Bureau of Investigation, searches were carried out at multiple locations. In fact, we're given to understand CBI had basically recovered transcripts of the phone recording. Not just that, original phone recordings and RAID servers with 2 laptops, lines of about 30 MTNL calls. All of those were seized by the Central Bureau of Investigation. We are now given to understand Chitra Ramkrishna has been confronted with those very transcripts. The largest scam that is emerging right now is the fact that IPS officer Sanjay Pandey, while in service, was actually, what we are given to understand is that the private firm was actually given this particular contract. While he was a serving IPS officer, he carried on with the business activities. Illegal phone tapping was taking place. And not just that, Chitra Ramkrishna had also roped in a business journalist. This business journalist, we are given to understand, played a crucial role in helping Sanjay Pandey's firm, ISEC Securities Private Limited, to back this contract. Latest details now emerging, 12.5 crore rupees. That's the amount that this particular company linked to Sanjay Pandey has actually received. Roughly about 8 crore rupees was actually given for conducting an audit. Rest of the money was for snooping. We'll also try and go across to our reporters on the ground to get you more details. Remember, this story is just getting bigger now. Chitra Ramkrishna, former MD of the National Stock Exchange, arrested by the Enforcement Directorate in the illegal snooping case. And not just that, some details are also emerging that the moment the NSE co-location scam, that very scam was out in the open, this illegal phone tapping was actually stopped. Instructions were basically passed on to Sanjay Pandey's firm to stop the phone recording because it appears that they were fearful that this is now going to go out of their hands. In fact, after the searches that were basically carried out at ISEC Securities Private Limited, the firm which was being backed by Sanjay Pandey. In fact, his family members have also been a director in this particular company. Let me go across to my colleague Niranjan, who's joining us on this broadcast. Niranjan, the details that are emerging right now of Chitra Ramkrishna, who is questioned by the Central Bureau of Investigation, it turns out that she has now been confronted with those very transcripts that were recovered from ISEC Securities Private Limited's premises in Mumbai.
Well, I think, the entire, thread is getting extremely interesting, Shravan, and you've been tracking the story for quite some time. In fact, when the story broke, we've had so many twists and turns in this particular case. with Chitra Subramaniam's arrest first, and the mystic yogi that everybody spoke about, whose advice that she continued to take, who's also, by the way, in custody right now. And now with another top name coming into the picture, that's Sanjay Pandey, who's been a DGP of Maharashtra at one point and has been a commissioner of Mumbai recently. And for him to come under the scanner, and we are told that when the raids happened at his place a few days back, he was not even present. Shravan, I think you'll have more details on that. But what is startling this evening in this case is that a journalist, and these are details that you're also picking up, Shravan, that a journalist was used as a possible conduit. A journalist was used as a possible conduit between Sanjay Pandey's firm and the entire snooping scandal. What we can tell our viewers from the information we have is that he came in and was brought in to snoop on people, to snoop on employees of the NSE, to ensure that something that was fishy was not going out and others didn't have a whiff of it. Shravan, and you'll be able to tell more details. In fact, from the details Shravan is also picking up, what we can tell you is that Chitra Ramkrishna was confronted with some of the transcripts, and she has said that this was done on the basis of recommendations. She has also said that yes, it did happen, that phone lines were tapped. Pandey's firm, there is ISEC Securities, from the details that Shravan has picked up. ISEC Securities received about 12.5 crore rupees, and until recently he was the Mumbai Police Commissioner. Shravan, it's bizarre, how deep the rot goes. Somebody who was the DGP and then went on to become the Mumbai Commissioner, and he was snooping illegally through his firm and received this amount of money, 12.5 crore rupees, and 4.45 crore, 4.5 crore almost for snooping, and 8 crore for auditing. And a business journalist, we are told, was instrumental in ensuring that Sanjay Pandey was brought in. There's a lot of dirt, a lot of muck that's now emerging, Shravan.
Well, just one more quick question with you, Niranjan, with regards to the details that are basically emerging of the questioning that has taken place so far. We are given to understand that Chitra Ramkrishna has already been confronted with those very transcripts that were recovered from the ISEC Securities Private Limited, the firm based in Mumbai. It turns out that she has now essentially said that certain recommendations were actually given. That's where we are being told that the business journalist comes into the picture, because the business journalist has played a pivotal role in bagging the contract for Sanjay Pandey. So it turns out that she's made that admission that recommendations were essentially made.
Well, absolutely, Shravan. Maybe at this stage you don't want to name the business journalist, but you can certainly give our viewers a little bit of an idea about what we know about the role of this business journalist, because it becomes important. And I think as you dig deeper, it will be interesting to see whether phones of politicians also were tapped. Now, if that comes to the fore, then I think the story takes a completely different turn altogether. Shravan. And Shravan is getting in more details right now as we speak. So let me just tell you more details of what we are picking up right now on the show. On the show right now on Republic TV, we are picking up more details. And let me tell you, as of this minute, we have more details of the case. For example, we are being told that Sanjay Pandey is being looked at very closely now, also by the Enforcement Directorate, which, by the way, it's another update. Sanjay Pandey was a former Maharashtra top cop, the former DGP of Maharashtra, former Mumbai Police Commissioner, and the ED has stepped in, and an ECIR or a case in the case of the Enforcement Directorate has been filed in the illegal phone tapping case, and a top business journalist is under the scanner. NSE officials are under the scanner. Family members of Sanjay Pandey are also under the scanner. There are reports that his son was also involved in this entire company and the phone tapping operations. So we are standing by for that. We should be able to get more breaking news updates on the story. But so far, in what turned out to be a stock exchange scam and a spot fixing and a scam that basically gave a few people advantage, the co-location scam, which gave people and traders advantage by being proximity, by being in close proximity to the stock exchange, has now taken a completely different turn with phone tapping allegations as well. So that's the story coming in this evening. Let's go across and get you some more breaking news on This Is Exclusive.
Well, thank you very much, Niranjan, for getting us all the details in the NSE snooping scam. First on Republic, exclusive details of the investigation that's been carried out so far. We'll be getting in more details. Just a quick recap before we just move on to the other story that we are getting in right now. Why this case becomes extremely important, because there are more names that are now emerging. One of the former Mumbai Police Commissioner, Sanjay Pandey, who's been named in the ECIR that has been registered by the Enforcement Directorate. And not just that, imagine the National Stock Exchange head here actually ropes in a private firm to carry out an illegal snooping. That's the latest details that is also now coming in. Let's also put out more details as we move to the other big story that's we have been tracking right now. Getting in some more breaking news in a short while from now. Another big breaking news now coming in. We'll be shortly going across to our reporters to get you more details of this entire investigation that's been carried out. Let's just also quickly take our viewers through the first big news that we've been tracking of the Enforcement Directorate arresting Chitra Ramkrishna. In fact, after the searches that were basically carried out, more details now coming in from our sources indicating that these phone recordings, there are multiple phone recordings. In fact, from one particular line, that is from one particular line, 30 MTNL calls could have been tapped at one go. Raid servers have already been seized by the Central Bureau of Investigation, details of which will also be shared by the Central Bureau of Investigation. I'll just ask our producers also to bring in Niranjan in a short while from now, because we're getting in some more breaking news right now, which I would like to put out. Been told that some breaking news now coming in with regards to Sri Lanka. Let's just take a look at some of the details that I imagine a short while back. Gotabaya Rajapaksa, who's actually landed in Singapore. A statement now that's also come in from Singapore soon after the arrival of Gotabaya Rajapaksa. In fact, this is what the statement coming in from Singapore's Foreign Ministry. Rajapaksa has now been allowed entry into Singapore on a private visit. He's not asked for any asylum, neither has he been granted any asylum. Singapore generally does not grant requests for the asylum. Now, that's the big statement now coming in from this finance from the Foreign Ministry of Singapore, where Rajapaksa has been allowed entry into Singapore. A short while back, you saw the aircraft ferrying the former president of Sri Lanka landing in Singapore. Visuals first accessed by Republic TV. Statement now coming in from the Foreign Ministry. Let me go across to Abhishek Kapoor, who's joining us on the phone line right now. Abhishek, just take us through the details now coming in. There's been intense amount of pressure building on Singapore, and let's also remind our viewers, Singapore has been known for at least providing refuge to several controversial leaders in the past. So it's not the first time also, Abhishek.
Well, Shravan, the fact of the matter is, it is not as much about Singapore as about Gotabaya Rajapaksa. He's a president on the run. Remember, had he relinquished charge as president, he might have been tried for various offences by the next government. Obviously, it's not happening. But then, since that anticipation, that fear is there, that's why instead of resigning from the post as demanded by great mass of citizenry in Sri Lanka, he has taken subterfuge behind Article 37 and appointed a proxy instead, who's obviously losing credibility, being guilty by association. But the fact of the matter is, Gotabaya Rajapaksa landed in Maldives, created ripples within the Maldives political establishment, with the opposition party, in fact, raising the issue in parliament and making things difficult for the Speaker Nasheed and President Soli, who had to perhaps request Gotabaya to leave. I think the only option he had was Singapore, and that's why he has landed there. The fact that the Singapore ministry has clarified that no political asylum is being given clearly shows that the governments across the world are uncomfortable with giving refuge or political refuge to someone who's on the run from his own citizenry, because everyone wants to be seen with the people of Sri Lanka. Everyone sympathizes, empathizes with them, given their struggles. I think that's a strong message to Gotabaya Rajapaksa and the entire Rajapaksa clan. We don't know where things would go from here. As of now, I think he will end up staying there for a while. Everybody now waiting for July 20th, when a decision has to be taken on the next president and the next government of Sri Lanka. Most likely an all-party government. The only unfortunate part, as I see it, is that in the parliament, Rajapaksa party, the SLFP, has majority, and that's why they were prime minister and president between the family. So whether the parliamentary majority would hold against forming of the next government or influence it in a manner that it again remains a proxy government for the Rajapaksas, that's an area of concern. But the fact that Singapore government has clarified that no political asylum is given clearly shows that the world opinion is against Rajapaksas.
Thank you very much, Abhishek, for getting us the latest details. Shifting focus now to the other big story that we have been tracking very closely. More details now emerging of the person who was allegedly the main planner of the plot to target Prime Minister Narendra Modi in the state alongside 5 others. Arrests have already been made. The police had first arrested 2 people, including a retired police officer, busting a potential terror module indulging in anti-India activities. Let's just take a look at some of the details that we're getting in right now on your screen. Shocking details are also emerging. A short while back, we've already heard during a press conference how Patna police essentially likening both the RSS and the PFI. Role of the PFI emerging once again. PFI, on the other hand, has essentially indicated that these are false cases that have been registered against them. In fact, they are saying that after failing to not being able to establish any case, especially by using the central agencies, they allege that the centre has now directed all state polices to start registering cases against them. They say that these are fake cases that have been registered against them. First, let's take a look at some of the details that have been put out by the Patna police.
मीटिंग्स ऑर्गेनाइज करवा रहे थे। एफआईआर में कुल 26 लोगों को नामजद किया गया है, जिसमें अधिकांश लोग बिहार के हैं और कुछ लोग बिहार के बाहर के भी हैं, कर्नाटक के हैं, और उनकी प्रति साक्ष्य संकलन की कार्रवाई की जा रही है। और अभी तक जो अनुसंधान बिल्कुल प्रारंभिक स्टेजेस पर है। जो पता चला कि ऑर्गेनाइजेशन बेसिकली मोबिलाइज़ करती थी, मस्जिद में और मदरसा में यूथ्स को मोबिलाइज़ करते थे और कठोरता की तरफ, जिसको हम अंग्रेजी में रेडिकलाइजेशन बोलते हैं, उसके लिए ये लगातार।
Getting in some breaking news. First on Republic, another FIR has now been registered against Mehul Choksi. We are being told that this is a fresh bank fraud case that has been registered against Mehul Choksi and a few more other companies. In fact, we've also accessed the FIR copy of the FIR that has been registered by the Central Bureau of Investigation. This is yet again loans that were basically taken by companies that have been linked to Mehul Choksi and how this was essentially used. In fact, yes, we've got full details. I'll ask our producers just to note down some of the details that I'm putting out right now as I'm getting in from my sources. Bezel Jewellery India Private Limited, accused number 1. Accused number 2 happens to be Mehul Choksi. Third accused is Chetna Javeri. Dinesh Bhatia, Milind Limai and few others have also been named. Now, in fact, they're saying that a written complaint was actually addressed to the head of the CBI's banking fraud department, banking and finance department. They received it from the general manager of Canara Bank. The allegation in this complaint disclosed that Canara Bank and the Bank of Maharashtra sanctioned about 30 crore rupees and 25 crore rupees respectively as working capital facility under the consortium arrangement led by the Canara Bank to Bezel Jewellery India Private Limited. And immediately on availing of those limits, this particular jewellery company repaid its long-term borrowings of 18,000 crore rupees to its parent company, then diverting its working capital limits. Now, these are the latest details. Now we're getting it. We've also, let's just put this out, we've also accessed a copy of the FIR that has been registered by the Central Bureau of Investigation, mounting pressure on Mehul Choksi. Remember, all of this keeping in mind that Mehul Choksi is basically battling a massive legal case in Antigua. Remember, with the Central Bureau of Investigation now filing another FIR that has been registered against Mehul Choksi, they are just trying to consolidate all the cases against Mehul Choksi. In fact, there have been multiple communications also taking place with the Antiguan government. The Antiguan government has basically assured India that following all the legal cases that are heard in the courts in Antigua, they are going to cooperate with the Indian central agencies to bring back Mehul Choksi. Now, that's the latest now coming in. In fact, we've also accessed the FIR copy. Let me just quickly take you through some of the details. We're being told that they are looking at about some 30 crore rupees that was basically given to a company that has been linked to Mehul Choksi. The name of the company is Bessel Jewellery Private Limited is what I'm being told. It is alleged that the loan was granted for manufacturing and sales of gold and diamond studded jewellery. The company has not routed any of the business transactions through the account since beginning, and the transactions which appear in the account are with their group concerns only, which indicate diversion of funds. Just to simplify this, yet again, Mehul Choksi has now been once again accused of diverting certain funds that he had actually received from Canara Bank. Pretty much the modus operandi that we've essentially seen in other cases. Here too, once again, we are being told that this is a case in which Canara Bank has now come forward. They have submitted a letter to the Central Bureau of Investigation, and based on that, an FIR has now been registered by the agency. This is a fresh case that has been registered against Mehul Choksi. That's the latest now coming in. Let's also put out I'll try and send across the FIR copy that has now been accessed by Republic TV. Let's just put out the FIR copy. I'll ask our producers just to bring in our other reporters from the newsroom just to get, and while I just send across some of the details and the FIR copy that has now been accessed by Republic TV. Let's put that out. These are the latest details now emerging in the case that has been registered against Mehul Choksi. Latest details coming in of this particular case against Mehul Choksi. Just to put this into perspective, what are we getting right now? The details that we have got so far is one, a case has now been registered against Mehul Choksi. This is a fresh case that has been registered against Mehul Choksi as well as companies that have been linked to it. This company has actually received about 30 crore rupees from Canara Bank, and we are given to understand that this money was once again diverted to other companies. We do not know at this point in time whether at all this has been linked to few other companies which we are trying to get across to. Let's just put out the details in a short while. I'll ask our producers to just get in some of our reporters from the Mumbai newsroom so that I could also send across the FIR copy we've just accessed right now. These are the details. Let's just quickly take you through some of the details that we're getting in right now of the FIR that has been registered by the Central Bureau of Investigation. The FIR clearly mentions multiple companies that have been registered multiple companies that have benefited out of this particular loan that was received by the Canara Bank. In fact, they're saying that along with about five accused, along with Mehul Choksi, have now been named in this particular FIR. Slipping into a short break. On the other side, we'll put out the FIR copy which we've just received from our sources. Details only on Republic TV.
Terror plot to target Prime Minister Modi.
पिछले 2 महीनों से एक ट्रेनिंग कैंप कवर्ड वे में चल रहा है, जिसका मकसद है लोगों को ट्रेन करना और ट्रेन करके किसी भी अल्ट्रा कंजर्वेटिव एक्टिविटीज को, जिसको आप टेररिस्ट एक्टिविटीज बोलते हैं, उसको कराना।
Watch the biggest story tonight at 7 p.m.
Amity has been ranked India's #1 not-for-profit private university for 9 years, with top 10 ranked institutions in management, engineering, biotech, law, mass comm, telecom, hospitality, fashion and more. Yet another top ranking for Amity University.
In the 9 to 12 placings match of the FIH Hockey Women's World Cup, Spain and the Netherlands on Wednesday at Estadio Olympic de Tarrasa, Spain, Indian women's squad defeated Japan 3-1. India overtakes Pakistan to reach the third position in ICC ODI team rankings following their thumping 10-wicket win over England in the first ODI at Kennington. Earlier, India were placed fourth in the rankings. Cricketer Jasprit Bumrah regains #1 spot in ICC men's ODI bowler rankings following his career best spell in England, which helped the men in blue crush England by 10 wickets in the first ODI. Olympic medalist PV Sindhu makes winning start to Singapore Open 2022 campaign, defeating her Belgian opponent in the first round of the women's singles. Playing on court 1, PV Sindhu won the match in 2 straight games. Germany confirms women's Euro 2022 quarterfinals berth, beating Spain in Group B game at the Brentford Community Stadium. The Germans have topped the Group B table following this win. And more news from across the world, with the Chinese government escalating its efforts to tide over a dip in its economic growth. China's new loans for the first half of 2022 allegedly grew to a new record high. The Chinese economy has taken a hit for many reasons, the strict lockdowns chief among them. China claims its foreign trade grew by 9.4% in the first half of 2022 compared to the same period the previous year. Chinese General Administration of Customs says exports grew by 13.2%, imports by 4.8%, though with a massive base effect. US President Joe Biden begins 3-day visit to Israel. He will also meet Palestinian officials in the occupied West Bank. It is Biden's 10th visit to the country. His first was in 1973, when he was a first-term US Senator from Delaware. He's met every Israeli Prime Minister since. Iranian authorities arrest internationally renowned filmmaker Jafar Panahi, the third Iranian director to be locked up this way as the government escalates its crackdown on the country's cinema industry. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese holds bilateral talks with his Solomon Islands counterpart in Fiji amid concerns about recent China-Solomon Security Pact, which the Oceania nations fear could end in a Chinese naval base in their backyard. In the 9 to 12 placings match of the FIH Hockey Women's World Cup, Spain and the Netherlands on Wednesday at Estadio Olympic de Tarrasa, Spain, Indian women's squad defeated Japan 3-1. India overtakes Pakistan to reach the third position in ICC ODI team rankings.
I think the amazing thing about Nambi sir is that he's still fighting. Why are you still fighting?
In this country, a helpless person like me, the only savior you see in the visibility is the court. So I went to judiciary, kept on fighting the doors, till I achieved what I wanted.
This man has fought a case on his own with no help, and he has fought the case right up to the Supreme Court. He has slept on the staircase of the Supreme Court. He has fought when the lawyers have left him. He has argued his own case, so much so that the Indian government for the very first time has the constitution pay him. That's happened for the very first time in history.
That's all that we could pack in this edition of This Is Exclusive. On the other side, live and breaking with my colleague Abhishek Kapoor.
Thank you, Shravan. A fresh FIR against economic offender Mehul Choksi and others, which is about swindling about 55 crore rupees. Complaint coming in from Canara Bank to CBI. But all that and more, first up the headlines. Massive anti-national plot busted in Patna, 6 arrested. Question remains,